months ago, maybe. And so I was. Yeah, it was March, and Maureen said, we have this organization and we really want to do something together. And I told her that my mom actually, when I was younger, used Witzel services in Israel for support when she was divorcing my dad, and they were there for her. And it was, for me, I felt like I'm, doing something like this would just mean so much. So just, appreciate everything you're doing, and I appreciate, and I'll be right under the logo, so we can tag it logo. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. It means a lot, and it helped the family in Petah Tikva, where I grew up a few decades ago, and it's and the impact is so great that until today I feel like I feel responsible. So I won't speak for long. I'll let you ask questions, and then we can have a conversation, because I feel like we have a lot to talk about, and I don't want to speak about things that are not as interesting. So, I've been doing this work for a long time, but I grew up in Israel. I lived in Israel for most of my adult life. I served in the IDF for 5 years as a humanitarian officer. That was in 2008. I was working with the international organizations in the West Bank and in Gaza, helping Palestinian civilians there. I worked with amazing humanitarian organizations, but also not so amazing organizations like UNRWA. I was working very closely with them, with the Red Cross. And I remember since then thinking how biased they were, and the information that was coming out from my military service to the world was so skewed that I wanted to do something to change it. After my military service, I moved to America. I lived in Seattle for a few years, and I've seen that all of this information, the false information from my service, made its way to the Pacific Northwest, to campuses, to Berkeley, to University of Washington. All those universities were teaching all of this false information that I've seen firsthand. And I wanted to make a difference and educate students about it. And that was in 2012. For 2 years I was doing that, and I've already seen, on the periphery, a lot of what we're seeing today coming into fruition, and people really developing those ideas about who Jews are. And Jews were equated as worse than white people. We're not even white, we're worse than white because we control everything and we're oppressing everyone, and of course we are also oppressing the people in the Middle East. And I found it so weird that when I said I'm Israeli, people immediately assumed that my family was from Europe, although they were from the Middle East, they were from Iraq and Tunisia. And all this actually shattered a lot of their misconceptions, but it wasn't enough to convince them. I think that even Jews that are from Iraq and Tunisia and the Middle East, or Ethiopian Jews, those people that have such brainwashed and warped vision of reality, nothing is going to change their minds. And of course we know that even if Jews lived in Europe for a few hundred years, it doesn't matter, we all come from Israel, that's our land. And then I left Seattle and I went back to Israel. I started a social media company, I started working with social media. I was working mostly with tech companies. I was still involved with this work, but not as involved as I am today. I had a big client in Ghana. I was working for the president of Ghana and did this social media election campaign, got him elected. And I realized that social media has power, and we can use this power to change reality. So 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, I started the Tel Aviv Institute together with Dr. Oren Katz. He's an expert on rhetoric and propaganda from Berkeley. Together we started this institute. The goal was to research hate speech online. We found out that people really don't like Jews online. Shocking for a lot of us. But we wanted to do something to change it because the research was not enough. So we went to Meta, we went to Twitter, we went to TikTok, top people in those companies, Jewish people, Zionists that care about the cause, but we couldn't make a difference, we couldn't break through. At the end of the day, it's multi-billion-dollar companies, they care about the bottom line, and they can't do anything I think they can, but they weren't going to do much to help us. So we started working on changing the conversation on social media ourselves. And we're doing it through laboratories where we bring 20 influencers and we teach them for 3 days about Israel, about anti-Semitism, and how to speak up, and we're creating those communities that are so strong. And I just had dinner with our recent cohort From when was your lab, guys? Yeah. In Yapa, when was it? It was like March. So the recent alumni from our lab, we have Jan here, say hi Jan, and Leora, and Ella, and Ben graduated a year ago. But all of them are influencers, and Mark, my future husband. And all of them have big platforms, and each one of them is doing something else. So Leora is a painter, and Jan is an actor / amazing. You're doing so much, I don't know if I can describe it. Each one of them have different platforms and speaking to different audience, so we help them speak up in the time that they want to speak up, and creating this communities of support. We have 150 influencers in our network. We educate them and empower them to speak up when they want to. We find that talking points don't really work. Personal experiences, sharing what you've seen works to make a difference. We also found that the aggressive approach of many in the pro-Israel community, which is totally justifiable. The feeling that we have righteous anger because we're fighting anti-Semitism. A lot of people around the world, as I said, don't really like us. And this righteous anger leads us to be aggressive. But from the data analysis, we're doing constant polling and surveys and focus groups, and we find that being aggressive or snarky or rolling your eyes at the journalist doesn't affect people positively. The way to affect people positively is to speak about peace, is to speak about coexistence, is to humanize both Israelis and Palestinians. By doing that, we can actually, it's not the intuitive approach, but it is really working very well to get people towards us. And that's what we're trying to do. The work that I'm doing today on my social media, that I have an entire team that works with me, and the work that we're doing with our alumni is to try and make a difference, is to direct the conversation in a different way. And I think the challenges that we're facing the media, the challenge in the media, as I said, BBC, God curse them. I'm still going there when they call me, but I think they are so biased. I don't think they are so biased. There's evidence that they've been so biased throughout this war. They've been publishing so much misinformation, and it's not just misinformation that is, posting something or publishing an article and then it ends there, or it's posting a correction later. It actually leads to violence against us. When they published the story of El Hali Hospital in November last year, that Israel bombed the hospital, the following, like a few hours later, the oldest synagogue in Tunisia was burned to the ground, where my family is from. And that is a direct result of this case. They know that they have responsibility, and unfortunately they're not doing enough, and they don't want to do enough to change it. But the way to change it is by changing the conversation ourselves and to speak up. And the reason I post all this content on social media is meant to help you guys and everyone to have language that you can use, that we're testing and we're finding that is effective. I'm giving you permission to take any post that I posted and make it your own, copy my tags, post it as your own, and remove my hand up. That's totally fine. Everything we do is meant to help the Jewish community. My goal, there's a lot of organization fighting anti-Semitism. My goal is to end anti-Semitism. And I know it's ambitious, but I think we can do it. I think that for a lot of people, it's a trendy hashtag. It's something that, it's a flag that they carry. It's a kafia that they put on themselves, although they've never, the closest relationship to the Middle East they have is eating hummus that they feel like they can wear a kafia, which is bizarre to me. But I feel like the trend would pass, and we will know how the world has reacted. We will know how our friends reacted, or our ex-friends, people that we thought we could trust, and we can't trust them anymore, and that's fine. But I think that this trend would pass when the war would be over, or even when it will calm down. But I think we will have an opportunity to make a difference, to make an impact, to educate the world. And we need to use this opportunity. We need to speak up. We need to use our experiences, personal experiences, our story, educate people in a positive way to make an impact. And I think that together we can do it. And whenever you feel like the world is against us, and there's so many people out there that hate us, and there's so much misinformation, which I feel every day on social media, but all I have to do is to remind myself of Jewish history. There was never a time in history that we weren't outnumbered. But there was never a time in history that we weren't outsmarting our enemies, and we're going to do it again now, even if it doesn't feel like it. I'm often thinking about the heroes in our history, the Maccabees that were fighting in Israel, the Jews that uprised in the Warsaw Ghetto, the Jews that built Israel, the Jews that fought against several armies in this new country that was just established and did everything they can to fight and to make sure that we'll be able to have a country now. And I think about these heroes and I draw so much inspiration from them. And I'm also thinking to myself that one day our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, would look back at October 7th, 2023, and they look back at this time and they would think, where was those heroes? And those heroes are here in the room. We are creating the history and the future of our people. So each and every one of you in this room, each and every one of you that is committed, that is not afraid of being Jewish, of coming to an event like this to support this organization, you're all the heroes of tomorrow, and I'm just really proud to see all of you here tonight. So thank you so much.